Hey everyone, welcome back for another Fusion lesson. This is a great graphic. This Yankees logo is an awesome tool to train on using splines and arcs in Fusion. So, just for my students specifically, make sure you open this a new window so you can download it to your computer. Once it's downloaded, it should be going to your downloads from here, and then we'll bring it into Fusion. I'm about to get going here. So, things you need to know for presets and specifically my students. Make sure that you change the units to inches if it's not before we get started with this. I've also got some students who have their zooming in and out. Actually, I also have my layout grid turned off, and it's probably a good thing for you guys to know this because this can get in your way in some cases. And there's grid and snap settings right here, this little menu. You can turn these on and off as you need. Generally don't necessarily want to snap to the grid when you're drawing, so that can be a problem. You might want to keep that off. Last thing with preferences is some people have zoom controls not feeling comfortable, so going into a preferences control that's up here in your menu, you should see your initials up there. You click that, preferences. There's a lot of menu controls. I know it's overwhelming to look at, but if you just scroll down to the very bottom, it's 3 up from the bottom in the general menu. All these are menu tools. Please don't touch them unless you really know what you're doing. Get some of this stuff out of the way. All right. First thing I want you to do is click the new design button. Click on the top plane, which is this. You can see that its correlation here is the top plane. I'm going to start with a 4-inch rectangle. So as you're dragging this out, and as long as, and you can type in 4IN if you're actually in millimeters, and it'll end up working out to be the same, in case you at this point forgot to go in and change the units, which you still can, but 4 tab, sorry. Center this up here. Whenever you see these numbers, there's 2 numbers there. Whatever's highlighted is the one that you're being asked to enter the unit for. So you just type in the number, press the tab key on the keyboard, jumps it back to the next measurement, type in 4, and then enter will finish up those measurements. All right, this helps you lay out canvas pictures. So you click canvas, insert from my computer after you've downloaded it, and what you do is click inside the shape, and it's going to snap the size of that canvas or picture to the exact dimensions that you told it to go to be. So I've trimmed this picture to make it a little bit simpler for you, and if you're ever using images, it's nice to know exactly how to set dimensions to what size you want them to be and be precise about it. Right. Next thing you're going to do is click Create Sketch. And so there's 2 different kinds of arcs going on here. These are all these end arcs, these top 4, and these bottom 3 are pretty simple arcs. They can be done with 2 different tools. You can do that with a 3-point arc, which you click an endpoint and an endpoint and then bend that arc into place. That is a great tool for that. You can also use something called a conic curve, which makes an imperfect arc. Can be helpful when things are not exactly perfectly circular. In most cases, we're using a spline, all right, which is this tool right up here for the majority of this work. And that's the purpose of this project, is to teach everybody how to use splines. Now watch what I do here. I'm not trying to pay attention to what the line is doing as I'm clicking here. I'm trying to make sure that I accurately click on the line as I go, but not paying attention to what it's doing, because it's going to do things that don't necessarily look right But as long as you focus on clicking the edges of something that you're trying to trace, it's going to do a really great job. When you're working with canvases, you also want to know you can turn off and on the visibility as you go. And if it's this is a good drawing to trace over the top of, because the visibility is pretty good. If you go into the canvas, which is this Yankees picture, if you right click on it and go to edit, there's an opacity control here that allows you to change how dark the image is. Some cases images are a little bit overwhelming and it makes it hard to see what's going on. This is how you can control that. So, little lessons as we go. All right, so my suggestion is to try and use, sorry, I'm thinking about too many things at once here. Try and use all of the tools instead of going like spline, arc, spline, straight line, whatever. If you got a bunch of spline work or whatever, do all the splines in one shot and then go back in and put all your arcs or whatever. Try and think about an easier way rather than jumping back and forth whenever you're doing work. But again, here, like this, it doesn't, you're able to move all of these points as you go. Something I need to mention real quick. If your splines are not landing where you want them to be, it's because you hit enter here to finish that spline. And if it's not landing where you want it to go, there's a snap option. And that snap is going to snap your points that you're trying to draw generally onto a grid pattern. Like this grid that's there is what it's going to snap to. If you're not able to click where you want to click and it's popping around on you, you got to uncheck the snap control. This can also be hidden back and forth here. Splines allow you to grab any of these click points and maneuver it around. And if you click on the line, you see all those wild green looking lines. Each one of these click points has a bar that runs through it with 2 endpoints on it. That's these green things. And what it does, I'm grabbing something that I don't know. What it's going to do is it's going to change the curvature of your line and give you a lot of control. So you can get splines really exactly where you want them to go. All right. It just takes some practice to understand the basic controls. So I'm going to continue on here. Not be so long-winded. You really do need to zoom in. And here's the thing, again, also with splines, a lot of the times when you're tracing, you want to do one nice long spline and not have little line segments when you're drawing them. You got to zoom in, which means you have to know that you can press the mouse wheel down when you're working with a spline and zoom in and out, and it has no effect on the spline. You want the spline to finish, you just hit enter there, and you can zoom around and do whatever you need to do. All right, and then the other, just to close these in, is going to be arcs. They work fine. And just click each endpoint and do a little bend. See, what this allows you to do is, in some cases, the tools will stay on. Like an arc tool will stay on. I know systematically, like I have to go in there every time I want to turn a spline on, because of the way a spline will work, and I want that a little bit curved on purpose. Line that up on purpose. If you're using if you're using an arc, you can keep drawing arcs. If you're using a spline, every time you draw the spline, you have to click on the spline and draw another spline, click on and draw. It's just the way that the program launches the tools. So it's just easier to do all of your splines in this case first, and then you can go back and you can fill them in the rest of it. General rule of thumb with the splines, if you don't have a sharp bend, you don't need to click very often. If it starts to bend really fast, this doesn't really have any sharp bends in this drawing. You just want to click more frequently if you have a tight turn, because that gives you more points to control if you need to adjust the curve and the turn. It just takes practice. You really can't. I mean, every spline drawing is unique. You need to know to not have those snaps on. That's really important, because you'll never feel precise. The noise in the background is my dog trying to grab a snack out of the garbage can because she's a puppy. So this just takes time, but after you're done, you can extrude this, and then this exterior circle. I always like showing people how simple it is to do circles. If you use a 3-point circle tool and click any 3 points, and remembering that whenever you're doing canvas work, it's just a tracing assistant. You don't need to be exactly on the lines for something to look great when it's done, because you're not going to see the image. You're just going to see your 3D model. So, important note. I'm going to save this. Something that I haven't been deeply engaged with is showing you guys what goes on with this admin project location, and I need to. All right, I'm going to do Yankees, Spline. Save this to my admin projects. You have a cloud backup system going on in Fusion, where if you click on your recent data in this menu, it's going to bring up everything that you've been working on and everything that you save in your admin projects. So if you have not played around with this file menu, everything that you're opening, saving, and exporting goes on here. And I go quickly grab that and grab it anywhere, because I'm working from home right now, and a lot of this stuff I've done in the classroom. You can gain access to your history of work here, and this is where everything gets saved. This is actually a cloud link, and part of what goes on with when you're signing in, why you have to sign in every time you're using the system software, it's because it's actually creating internet connections to backing everything up online. So it's actually really a good program for this. So make sure you just trace this out. You can just, this is going to be done in English units, or inches, I should say. When you extrude this, you can make it 0.2 millimeters after you're done with all your spline work. I'm going to stop the video because there's no reason to keep going at this point. But once you understand this, what you do is you extrude just the top 0.2 and this back circle 0.2. You don't have to do anything with the exterior border, but you can play around with it. If you want to start messing around, just quickly offset. You can do different types of extrusion work and make different size borders easily with tools like that, and extrude that. Do something like this for a backing plate. You always have to turn your sketch visibility back on. Extrude. This. Not that. 0.2. You have to flip the direction. To a negative 0.2 when you're putting this backer on. And then it'd be like a coaster kind of design. After you trace this, you could extrude this up, make something a little bit more interesting. It was zero energy. I mean, just know how to get into this. Tracing using splines and arcs, basically out, being a little precise with sizing things up, gives you all a bunch of little practice. See you soon, guys. Thanks for watching.